Welcome to Chai and Chat on the Cis podcast, where we discuss what it's like being women in Western society. Pour yourself a cup of chai and tune in to the conversations. Hey y'all, assalamu alaikum. This is Sister Hoff, and today I'm going to be talking with my friends about some horror stories.
Hey everyone, I'm Steph and joining Sister Hoff with this fabulous topic we have coming at you.
Yourself,
Hi,
Fizza.
I'm Fizza, and I'm Hoff and Stephanie's friend.
Okay. Fizza's going to be mostly on the sidelines, leaving her whatever commentations while Steph and I talk. This is in no way meant to supplement advice that you need to get from a scholar. Don't be afraid. We're not actually talking about horror stories. We're going to be talking about having crazy roommates and neighbors. Yeah, it's going to be some fun stories. Now, Fezza, I don't think you've had roommates outside living with your family. Steph and I have had some experiences, but I know, Fizza, you've had experiences with neighbors. Some of this is applicable. So there's a lot of different situations that we can be in. I know for me personally, I've lived with, when I had roommates, it was friends. Somehow, most of them, we are no longer friends. I've experienced living with a spouse, and that is drastically different than living with friends or with your family. Steph, would you like to share some of your wonderful experiences and how it impacted your life?
Okay, so where to begin? I mean, I think I've had so many crazy stories, but for the purposes of this discussion, let's talk about the one that I lived with post-college, who literally thought my violin was a machine gun, was one of the most racist people I have ever lived with in my life, and saw nothing wrong with any of her actions. She also thought that you could only get COVID from going to the hair salon, and that she could only catch COVID from her boyfriend if you went to the hair salon. So
Wow. As somebody who was a hairdresser in a salon during COVID, that's absolutely hilarious.
Oh, it was wild. And she was probably the messiest human I've ever known. And when I talked to people about her, they were like, there's no way she's that bad until they came over and saw her room and living space. And not so
Shut the
halal
door.
mode, not so halal mode, but she would literally like just come into my room and like my bathroom was in my room, so I like wouldn't put clothes on between the bathroom and my room
Oh
because
no.
because why
Ya
would I, if my room
Allah.
door is shut, like don't come in. And she would just invite herself in all the time, and like I'd come out of the bathroom and she was sitting on my bed.
Gosh, that would not happen, inshallah, with Muslim roommates. Or like
No.
religious
To clarify
practicing
to everybody,
roommates.
yes, and to clarify, oh well, she was very religious, and after doing the deed with the man she was seeing, she would always come into my room and be like, "We have to go to church, we have to repent," and did not like it when I said I didn't do anyone or anything that I regret last night. So then she also, before, disclaimer, this was before I reverted, y'all. So like she also was like convinced I was Muslim anyway. And so she would like tell me that I had to go pray with her. And I'm not even joking you. Like my parents' mass is in Arabic, it's in Syriac. She doesn't know the difference. She's this white chick that knows nothing. Like I would
We're
always
like that sometimes.
not you. You're cultured.
It took me
But
time to get there, okay?
she was just convinced that like anything in Arabic meant you were Muslim. And so I would put on the consecration. So for those of you who don't know, like the blessing of the Eucharist in a Catholic mass, in because my parents' church was recording their masses. And so I pressed play on that because I knew she'd be standing outside my door. And the number of times I heard her run away because she thought that I was like putting a curse on her or like doing something Islamic. And again, before I reverted. So like
Wow.
yeah, and how it shaped me. Honestly, it helped me grow so much as a person because it made me realize I want to live alone. What other questions do we have? Do you want me to talk about others?
I think living alone was fantastic because whenever I had roommates, FYI, it was a one bedroom apart.
Oh, wait, no, why?
Yeah.
What?
So I had one where my husband and I lived in the bedroom, and my friend and her man had the living room, and we like hung up curtains because the bathroom wasn't connected to the bedroom. And it was that way for like 9 months. And like we had a snowstorm, and it was just
I have
insane. And my lifestyle is different than their lifestyle. that was fun. But alhamdulillah, we all went our ways and didn't ruin our relationship with each other. We're all like, okay, this is fine. The second time I had a friend live with me, we shared a room. Actually, her bed was on my side and my bed was on the other side, and the bedroom was connected. But it's so hard sharing a bathroom with somebody when you both have to go to the bathroom at the same time,
Yes.
you know?
I In college, I was in roommate housing situations where it was six girls in an apartment, a three-bedroom, two-bath apartment, and four of us at any given time were sharing a single bathroom.
Like nothing will test your faith than living with other people. Because even if you share the same religion, you're
It's
different
regardless of
people.
your race, too.
Yeah, you're different
Regardless.
individuals and maybe you practice differently. I've seen like in some Muslims, they're just like, oh, if the meat was cooked by a Christian or a Jew, I can eat it. And I know there's people who have different views on that. And me, I'm like, no, halal is halal. Like you can eat the food that they make, but if they use halal chicken or something like that. So it's a little bit that's would be like one thing, or people's different views. Like some people listen to music. I don't listen to music. So it's really difficult if the person with me is listening to music at the same time, which is why like living with a spouse is easy because we're on the same page. Like we're on the same wavelength when it comes to, I mean, that was important for me in a spouse is being on the same wavelength spiritually. Obviously, we all know there are other things that apply to that and layers, and we don't need to go into that right now. So I have lived alone. That was actually fantastic. I don't want Fizza to be afraid of having roommates because me and Fizza are trying to be roommates right now. But living alone was fantastic because it's
Also,
just me,
you a horror roommate?
it's me, myself, and I.
But are
And
you a horror roommate?
am I what?
Do you think that you're the horrible roommate in somebody's story?
I don't know because in all the places I was the person on the lease. It was my apartment and
No.
I let people live with me.
There is a situation.
We didn't share the lease. Me and Fizz are gonna be on the same lease. We gonna split responsibilities, right?
There was a situation where I was the horrible roommate
Oh
to
no.
somebody, allegedly. I didn't do
Allah will ask
anything.
you on the day of judgment to
Okay,
answer.
that's fine. Allah can ask me, and I will say with my whole chest that I did not do anything wrong. And this woman thought that she could inconvenience me by moving into our living room just because I wouldn't switch roommates with her. In her mind though, I'm the horrible roommate.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I tried looking up like Quran verses about roommates, but I really only found stuff about spouses. And I'm like, okay, that's good and all. But I think it's because in context of today's time, we have roommates. Like back then, you didn't necessarily have roommates. Like
Yeah,
you lived
you
with your
lived with your
parents until you got
parents.
married. And that still happens in some other parts of the world. But to be realistic, in America and North America, we have roommates at some point. Either you do at university, which is a whole other ballpark. I've talked to sisters who they didn't have a choice over their roommates and just the disrespect. And they're like, please stop using my dishes to cook your, non-halal stuff. And I don't
You
eat
ever
this
have a
or I don't.
roommate warp? You ever have a roommate warp your pots and pans?
What?
Oh yeah, like
It's
nice
hard to when
Tupperware pots and pans.
you have different experiences in life and how you approach finding because some people are really polite and they'll be like, hey, I just want to know, I want to respect your stuff, I want to respect your space, what are your boundaries? And some people are just like living life how they always have and thinking everybody lives the same way that I do, and that's not the case. Like when I lived,
See,
in my own home with my husband, I'm like, I'm just going to run the house how I want to run it, and he has to deal with it, and he did, and that was fine. Roommates, different story.
they have no res a lot of them have no respect.
Yeah.
Like they don't care because they're gonna live the way they were raised.
Yeah. Well, even living with siblings, I guess we can brush this topic. Um, and living with siblings with different religious beliefs than you. So at one point, my brother and I were technically roommates. We had our own rooms, but it was like in my parents' basement, basically. But we had to be roommates. We had to share a bathroom. And that's interesting because I like my bathroom really clean. And he's more like, it's fine. There's toothpaste in the sink or whatever. And I'm like, ah. So I was always cleaning it and taking care of it, trying to keep that like he'll let the dishes pile up in the sink. And I was like, no, I need to use the sink because it's like one sink. If I need it's not divided in half. So we can't put the dirty dishes in one side and like have the other side to use. That was but it's because it's my brother, and you can't just like divorce family, you know, you're stuck with them, and it will definitely test your relationship.
Oh, it definitely does, especially when you weren't necessarily close to begin with. As I speak from experience in living with my sister now. And very different religious beliefs. And full disclosure to anybody listening, as a revert, I was taught that Muslims are the people that I should hate. Little did my parents know I'd become one. Um, very much my sister has those same beliefs and doesn't understand a lot of the religion. And I had a full out breakdown when I told her.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it was like not great. And then she's like doing little things that are almost like testing me if I really did revert. It's definitely a challenge and navigating those balances and still trying to be respectful because again, you can't divorce family and it's we're getting there. It's
Yeah.
fine. All I
And
can
like
say.
Islam teaches to like maintain good ties with your family, and like there's very few exceptions from my understanding. Like speaking with scholars, there's very few exceptions on cutting off family. Like there's distancing from family. I know that's really hard to do when you're roommates, you know,
Yeah,
and setting those boundaries and trying to like build a healthy, like for me, trying to be and back in my parents' house now, trying to build healthy relationships with them and respecting, but like alhamdulillah, my parents have known I've been Muslim for a long time and they've come to be really respectful of it. So like if they're knocking on my door and I'm not responding, oh, she's probably praying. And I'm just like, mashallah, like they're respecting that. They're not just like they don't just barge in, you know?
yeah, I can't say the same, but it is a learning experience, and I just view it as a test from Allah at this point because it just prepares me honestly for whatever is to come in the future. Like, I truly believe that there are fewer things worse than living with a variety of roommates. And like at this point, it's I've run the gambit. I've had the roommates that told me I was gonna heat them out of the I was gonna freeze them out of the apartment because they refused to put the heat below 90 year round. I've had roommates that have up and left and told no one and made us pack up their stuff because they left everything behind. I've had these were in college. I've had a roommate who took photos of me when I was sleeping. So like if my
So
sister just
weird.
kind of barging in on me is the worst I'm dealing with, then you know what? I think we're on the right track. We'll
Yeah.
make it whatever's coming next, I'm ready for.
Yeah. It's definitely a test that I think is unique to modern times and living in North America, or I guess maybe the West as well, but I'm not sure about like cultural differences in Europe because the culture is very different. You know, being somebody who's of European descent, I'm very different than my ancestors, and I guess I probably have relatives in Germany, but we've been here for like 300 years, so there's like there's no idea. What the cultural differences are and how people are with roommates there. In America, it's really a free for all, and you do whatever you want, and everybody just has to accept that. And that's hard because for me, I don't have to approve your way of living. I don't have to accept like I have to learn to tolerate because Islam teaches tolerance and respect, but I don't have to be like condoning what you're saying or agreeing a certain lifestyle or anything like that with somebody. But it is definitely that challenge of respect. I see it with neighbors as well. It's usually easier with neighbors because you can have your own space, but there's those neighbors that are really passive aggressive. Depending on how close you live to your neighbors, if you have paper thin walls or they live upstairs or they live below you, and how they respond. Are they gonna, call management on you? Are they gonna complain to the HOA that you didn't take your trash can up in time? Like little things like this that can be pretty petty, and it's really hard to keep patience on it. I definitely have my tasbih out, and I'm just like, subhanallah, 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 trying to get through it. That's my method for anxiety, by the way, is have my tasbih. I use my fingers
That's
if I'm
smart.
having if I'm having because I also have trypophobia. So and it's for textures. It's not just like fear of holes, it's textures or clusters. And it gets me. And if I'm in a place where I can't just like escape and go like breathe, I had to just do the tasbih on like my fingers, or if I have it in my pocket or on my phone or whatever. That's kind of my way of maintaining that. I feel like it's a good thing to do if you're dealing with a roommate and you want to just like respond or you want to react. That's the biggest thing is you need to respond, but you want to react. I recommend trying to do at least one of TESP before doing your response to somebody because it's definitely trying to have respect for them. But I guess like transitioning from the respect, I do want to hear your thoughts on kind of laying the boundaries, but dealing with people who are disrespectful to others and how you try to treat them respectfully, but not allow them to, just walk all over everybody else.
It's hard. I mean, I'll be real honest, it is hard. It is something I am still working on. I mean, it was always the running joke in my family that I'm a doormat until I'm not. Like, I will let people walk all over me. I know that. I'm aware of this. I let people walk all over me until I can't take it anymore. But the thing is, if you're talking on the flip side, like if you're talking about if somebody I know disrespecting somebody else, or even somebody I don't know disrespecting somebody else, it's like I can stand up for that person and lay their boundaries for them and tell other people that's not okay. Like I've done that many times. Like
Yeah.
I fully believe in the like I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I'll fight for what I love mentality. Like if I care about you, if I love you, if I consider you a friend, family, whoever you are to me, and somebody disrespects you in my presence, immediately I have no issue being like, check yourself. Like, what
Yeah.
is going on here? But if you're coming at me and disrespecting me, it's a totally different story because I take so much and I just let it roll off my back until I don't. But once I
Yeah.
hit the point of until I don't, there's no coming back for you.
There's definitely that, making excuses, like Islam talks about making excuses for
Mhm.
people for over and over and over. And there's a point that you're making too much. In that, like I feel like I would need to consult like a scholar or somebody who's very knowledgeable in the religion. How do I approach this? Because I want to respect people and I don't want to say the wrong things. Like I've had like in our culture, Southern culture, and I'm sure you guys have experienced some similarity because you guys come from different cultures as well, and your families are different cultures on treating my hardest is elders because it's like we let elders walk over us. And how do we lay back, like how we're laying boundaries with them? Like what if my neighbor is an old person? What if I'm having to stay with my grandparents for an extended period of time? And they're most notorious for just walking over people. They're less likely to, trash the apartment or barge in your room, but they might just say things and just like, what? And
Yeah, I mean,
they're so set in their ways that it's okay to talk to somebody like that.
that's the thing though, is like I once had a professor who said, yeah, any non-Muslim will say that Islam is wrong because Aisha was 9 years old when she married the Prophet. Like, and she was
Which
like,
is still
but
up for debate between different
yeah,
people as well.
correct. But the fact of the matter is, she was like, people fail to take into account the time in which the Quran was revealed, and they also fail to take into account the circumstances under which the world was operating at that time. And
Yeah.
so that's something that stayed with me because the circumstances our grandparents grew up with and things that were acceptable for them to say then are very different than now, obviously. So that's one of those situations where I'm almost giving excuses, but respectfully correcting people. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, not for nothing, all my grandparents are dead, Allah yarhamah, but like, they also said some very offbeat things, and it was a matter of being like, wait a second, are we talking about this right now? Like,
Yeah.
because from perspective, like that's the thing is if you take into account the fact that, oh, hey, times were very different when they were growing up, but also approach things as a, well, from my perspective, from what it's worth, instead of saying like immediately you're wrong and here's
Yeah.
why, then it comes across as more of a conversation versus an attack, which is the more important part. Like keeping in mind where they came from and making it a conversation instead of going at them. At
Yeah.
least in my experience.
I mean, you're never too old to learn something. Like one of my grandmothers is so blunt and she's very much so classic Southern. You dress up, you wear your finest jewelry, and you go out and you look your nicest. And like I came to her house for like Thanksgiving, and of course she had had guests there, and my male cousins were there, and so I'm covered in full hijab, and she's just like, I wish she would like show your hair. I don't know why you cover it, why you cover it and don't show yourself off. And I was like, well, there's parts of my body that I don't think anybody needs to see. And she's like, well, okay, like I agree with that. She couldn't argue that. So it kind of put it in perspective of like, I have what I consider modesty, and you have what you consider modesty, and we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that. And it is hard. On my other side of the family, I call it my family, I'm probably like they have, mashallah, 12 grandchildren and currently I think 13 great grandchildren on my dad's side of the family. And my papa, he's a very literal, very serious, and he's going to say what he thinks, and how he thinks is logic. And if you don't think how he is, then you're illogical. But I'm the one grandchild that they kind of throw on him because I call it pawpaw control, where I'm able to be firm with him because I speak his language. He's very much logic. And the rest of the family, they're afraid to speak that way because they're like, oh, is it disrespectful? And I'm like, you have to speak on his level. Like we were visiting my grandma's in a nursing home or whatever. She has no memory. She can't take care of herself. And he'll come in and say things and she'll just start crying. She can't verbalize. She can't speak anymore. She's no longer verbal. And she'd be crying. And I would say, Paw, you're being me. You hurt her feelings. And so now she's crying. And he would just sit there pouting because I was right. But I was being honest and telling the truth. And I wasn't sitting there saying, you're wrong and you're just a meanie and hurtful. I'm just saying what you're saying is mean and her feelings are hurt so that he can understand why she's crying. She's not crying for no reason. And it's kind of laying a boundary. And then he behaved better. And the whole family is trying to follow that and stick because we're realizing, mashallah, he's 90, almost 91 years old, still lives on
Wow.
his own, still drives a car, takes care of himself, and doesn't realize how healthy he is for his age. And also forgets that he's not in his 50s anymore and he can't function like how he used to. And that my grandmother's health has declined. It's not where they expected it to be. And it is hard in that respect. And now I've had to do what I call translating for him because he's very old school. And we were like at the nursing home, and the maintenance guy came in and he was trying to see something in the bathroom. And my grandfather was like, something with the commode. And the maintenance guy looked and I said, he means the toilet. He was like, oh, because he's still using his language that he grew up with. And it's confusing these other people. And then he just gets mad. They don't know what he's saying because he doesn't realize they're from a different generation or a different cultural background. They don't use that language. That's Southern terminology. And unless you understand old school Southern tech terminology or you're like really well versed in literature, you don't know that term. And it's hard
Okay.
because again, the disrespect comes out, even though he doesn't mean it. He's just like, why aren't you speaking my language?
So on the
Which
flip side, how do you approach setting those boundaries with the older generation when they're shutting down in front of you? Like you're trying to talk or be respectful and they just shut down. And like,
there's a point of having empathy and knowing that they can't handle everything. And again, that's where I feel like pausing, doing test bait, maybe just leaving the room and giving them space to be able to give it space and then think about how you're going to approach them and talk to them. And sometimes they're just not going to understand what you're saying. And all you can do is just be as polite and respectful, be nice to them about something, and realize that I can't explain this to them. They're not willing to learn. Like you can't teach somebody who's not willing to learn. There's this phrase, it's loosely interpreted from uh somewhere in the New Testament about in order to learn, you must be willing to be taught, you know? And some older people and even college roommates are not that way. They're not willing to learn from somebody else and being able to respect them and stuff like that. And that's when you have to like, my boundary is we're not going to have these discussions. And if they arise, I just have to let them say their piece and just say nothing sometimes. Sometimes it's better to say nothing. And I know there's I can't quote the exact hadith, but I know there is a hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam that says sometimes it's best to say nothing. If that whole old classic saying, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. But even in like debates, if it's turning into a full-on debate, because I don't think debates are necessarily healthy, especially when it comes to people that you're living with or people like relatives that you're close to or something like that, it's better to just let them do their thing. Let them feel like well, I said my piece, I'm correct. And then they're going to realize I don't agree with you. I'm not going to change my way of living just as you're not going to change yours. And they can't be mad at me for that. And I'm not, because I'm not arguing or fighting back with them, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I just think that some people forget that aspect. And I mean, I do, I think we're all guilty of it. Some people more than others, but I think we're definitely all guilty of kind of just shutting down when somebody with an opposing view essentially comes at us. I
Yeah.
mean, again, I know I'm guilty of it. But it's just one of those things too where it's like we can be speaking the same language as people, but saying completely different things about the same topic.
Hmm.
And that's honestly, this is my belief. Nobody come at me for it. But if we took the second, like Sister Hoff was saying, and like walk away or whatever, I feel like there'd be far less conflicts in the world. And I think that there'd be more understanding of people different than ourselves versus, especially with roommates too. Like those conflicts happen all the time. But anyway, that's my hot take.
Walking away from a discussion can be one of the hardest things, especially in a country where it's always about win, 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 be on top. You have to be the best. You have to be the brightest. It is hard. Like that is our challenge. And as Muslims, how we're instructed and taught to not cause, conflict, to not cause fitna, especially with your neighbors when you're living in a non-Muslim country or a non-Muslim neighborhood. Because I mean, there's part of this country where you live in certain neighborhoods, everybody's Muslim. So it's not something you think about. But once you step outside of that neighborhood, once you go out of that space or out of that country or wherever it is, it's a whole different ballpark. And then your faith is challenged, your abilities and your patience, subhanAllah, that is so tested in those situations. I mean, even at the grocery store, my goodness, my neighbor in the checkout line, and I go through self-checkout pretty much every time, but you still be waiting in line, and there's always somebody fussing about not understanding the machines, and it's so hard to just be chill and not be like, "Ah, you're not facing the barcode with the scan with the scan."
It's
And this is not
real in real life.
it's not exclusive to elderly people because I know that's the stigma people think. I have seen full on, I mean, when I worked in the grocery store business, complete meltdowns over self-checkout. Like
Believe it.
was I felt unsafe one time with a customer. He was like slamming everything. And at Kroger, it does the weight. So you have to put the thing on the scale before you can scan the next item. And these people are wanting to be like cashiers going beep, 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 scan it, scan it, scan it. And I'm just like, I mean, if you work in retail, if you work in grocery stores, especially in fast-paced environments, and you have to learn dealing with people because I don't want to be that person that goes viral because I started snapping on people in the
I
airport
think
security line.
everybody in the world needs to work in a customer service facing position, whether it be retail, whether it be grocery stores, whether it be literally any not human resources, customer service, like whatever it may be. Everybody needs to work one and
Yeah.
understand how they're treated and learn the respect. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It definitely works on I feel if you do that stuff, if people do that when they're in high school, it kind of preps them for the patience of dealing with roommates. I think it helped me a lot. I mean, yeah, I struggled with my roommates, but it definitely helped me a lot with, you know, let me just back up and have my little bit of space or something from this person. And it did come to a point where I've had to ask people to leave. And the friendship crumbled after that, just because there was like blame and stuff. And I'm like, that is hard, especially when you're like, was a good friend of mine. And I realized that there are things about each other that we didn't know. And we probably didn't need to know about each other just because we live differently, like living with a spouse, the home environment. Because I was a housewife, I controlled that. The home environment got to be how I wanted. Like, if laundry was on the floor, I picked it up and washed it. If laundry needed to be done, I did it. I didn't have to wait for somebody to move their stuff from the washer to the dryer or whatever before I could do my load. Like, I did everything. But there's definitely that having different views on certain things and discussions. Had a lot of like the food discussions. You know, I eat a very specific diet that most people don't, but I do that for my own health. And it's hard having those discussions when someone's like, no, I eat this way, and this is the way that's the correct way to eat, or this is how most people eat. And I'm like, that's cool and all, but I'm going to eat what I feel is best for me. But you tell me what you want, and I'll make it, because
Oh,
I want to respect how you want it.
I've had how many roommates at this point? Four, eight, was 15.
SubhanAllah.
And that's, I mean, again, in college, I was in a four squad my freshman year. My sophomore year, it was six girls in an apartment, in a three bedroom. My oh wait, I forgot junior year. Hold on. Junior year my was another group. But yeah, it's nice of you to cook for people. Anyway, that was the rant. So with 21 roommates, I mean, yeah, of course, some of us shared a meal together. I'd cook for them, just like Sister Hoff. But regardless of who they were or whether we shared a meal together or not, I've learned something from each and every roommate experience that helped me grow as a person. And yeah, were some of them crazy? Absolutely. I don't regret what I went through though, because it helped me to be a better roommate, a better person. It helped me to be more understanding of everyone. And, to kind of just wrap it up here, I think that everybody comes from all different walks of life and they'll have an impact on you. But the important thing is that you learn from it, you grow from it. You can't expect others to take away the same thing as you. And you know what? You might be the crazy roommate in somebody's story, but the fact of the matter is, you're becoming a better person for everything you go through. Whether it's Allah testing you or whatever it may be, you're becoming a better person and working towards your best self. And there's no doubt in my mind that regardless of the roommate stories, whether good, bad, ugly, and different, they're helping you to eventually become your best self.
Okay, so Steph had to leave, and my chai is cold, but I'm still drinking it. Today I did oolong and jasmine because it's evening and I don't want to like keep myself up. Also, if you hear strange screaming noises in the background, it's just a dog. Don't worry, she's not being tortured, she's not abused. She just wants a lot of attention. Not my dog, it's my brother's friend. That's another thing with roommates right now, having to live with roommates with pets. So that's only being with family because you're just stuck with them. And dealing with animal hair and when I want to go pray and I'm like covered in like dog hair just because I walked across the house. Closing off with what Steph said, she's absolutely right about different roommates, different people, neighbors, or whatever. They are teaching you a lot. They're teaching you about yourself. They're preparing you for life, and it's more experience that you have. It is tests from Allah. It is more experiences. Fizza, I really hope I didn't scare you from wanting to have roommates. I know there was more details to the stories that Steph and we have talked about personally. We didn't get to too much. Probably better. And also, thankfully, none of these people are ones you personally know, which is good. So, and again, having Muslims as roommates can be different. Do you have any questions to ask about roommates?
No, no, I totally agree. And I'm actually glad that we're talking about this. And I resonated with exactly what you mentioned earlier, that it's a good experience no matter how crazy of people you may come across, because it truly prepares you for, like a long-term partner and what to expect, what not to expect, how you should have boundaries and the respect that you should ask for. And I'm like literally like Stephanie because she said, she'll let people walk all over her but when it comes to other people, she'll be right there and stand up for them to, get treated well. And I'm like, that is literally me.
Yeah.
And so I get it. And I think it was a really good topic that we discussed today.
It is also having a courage. I know in my experiences, there is the courage to walk away from certain circumstances, which I have done, but it is hard when I've had to ask other people to leave. And that's setting a boundary. And it's hard. It is hard hurting somebody, and there's a way to go about graciously.
Hmm.
And I've been kicked out before, and I've been asked graciously to leave. And I have been just like, you need to leave, kind of happen. And then I've asked other people to leave, and that was hard. And it was hard seeing them heartbroken. And thankfully, in those circumstances, we did, talk a few times afterwards just to make sure we're like cool and good with each other. Alhamdulillah. Because those were friends of mine. They weren't random people. I never had the experience. I didn't have a traditional college experience, because I attended
Mhm.
college later and I was living alone at the time. And I just had my own space. And I lived in a duplex, so I only had one neighbor. And alhamdulillah, like he was awesome. He was like an uncle. He took care of me, making sure I was safe and would let me know about things happening. And I lived in a college town. There's a football game happening on this day, and it's going to be crazy because I didn't always keep up with the things. And I went to a major university where they totally worship football, totally worship it. Because we had a
Yes.
good team. And
Mhm.
our wonderful coach, he has since retired. So I kind of guess I'm glad I'm not there now because I'm sure it's chaos having a new coach and people are quite upset about it because their record this year wasn't that great. Anyway, I digress.
Mhm.
So tying in and closing in, a lot of people can't avoid having roommates living in America. It's in
Mhm.
university. And I guess one more thing really important to mention, a lot of people do end up getting married and living with in-laws. And depending on how the space is separated that you have, are you going to have a whole floor of the house to yourself? Are you going to be like down the hallway for them? I did experience living with in-laws for like 8 weeks and it was so miserable. But it's
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm used to my own space. I was not new. I was not new at
Mhm.
life. It was not my first time living out of the house.
Mhm.
So it was hard being in someone else's house and another woman's space. And I have to respect her house. It's not like being at my mom's house where I do my thing, she does her thing. We float around each other and it can be like, oh, I did this for you, mom, or I did that for you. It's harder being at an in-laws because it's like, will they be mad if I do this or will they be happy? Will they be offended that I'm dusting the baseboards? Like, will they be like, oh my gosh, does she think we're nasty? Like, So, and then also depending, like I have friends, I'm not their roommate, never have been, never will be. Every time I go to their house, I'll do the dishes. I do it. They're like, oh my gosh, I went to the bathroom, I come back and you're doing the dishes. I was like, I just do that. Like, but that's part of like me and my habits. Some people don't like that. So you have to know
But
the
that's also,
person.
I think that actually comes from being in a long-term and comfortable relationship with somebody too. Because I've done that at like my friend's house just because I'm like, why not? When you're
Yeah,
close to somebody like that, you're like, let me take this off you. And it's just like
yeah,
a normal task you would do at your house. You do it at their house and vice versa.
yeah. And some people, there are people, if I don't know them well enough and I find myself doing it and I'm like, are they, and some of them I think have been offended before. Like, does she think we're dirty? And I was like, I don't want you to feel that way. I just naturally want to
Oh,
do this and I'm trying to bless you, but they may not think it's a
mhm.
blessing. My grandfather was
Really? What was
upset
their
when
ethnicity?
I don't even know. It's a variety. I have so many different friends, like from every background. Either they're immigrants or their parents are immigrants, their great grandparents are immigrants, or they've been here
Mhm.
for like a gajillion years and they don't know where they came from. But the hardest I had was my grandparents, my grandfather. It's like,
Mm.
because I'm cleaning, I'm like scrubbing stuff because it's just built up because he doesn't know to take care of the house ever since my grandma got put in a home. And he just kept saying, thank you. But it was kind of like, and I'm like, you're my grandfather. I feel like it's my obligation to take care of you. Like, why are you being offended? But of course, because it's my grandfather, I just ignored him and I cleaned it because I was like, look, I'm doing this as your granddaughter to take care of you. And I'm not your cleaning lady because he's had, I think, like three cleaning ladies quit because he's really intimidating because he's stuck in his ways kind of thing. But me, he can't fire me. I'm his granddaughter. But it's still very much like I'm doing this because I love you, because I care. So it's knowing what boundaries are automatically set in place and knowing what boundaries that you do have to set with people. So, and knowing whose house you can't walk into or who I'm not going to share a bathroom with them or I can't walk in their room. Like I have to tell my mom all the time, please do not walk in my brother's room because it just gives her like anxiety seeing it because he's comfortable how he lives and she is not comfortable like how that is. But I'm like, this is his space. You need to respect it. So with roommates and even
Mhm.
neighbors, like you go to your neighbor's house, you have to respect it. And I had a hard time when my neighbors at my house there, they would get a little embarrassed when I would come over because their house is very different than mine. And I'm like, you have five children. I have a cat and he lives outside. This house is like, I do not at all expect, and I don't want you to feel like I'm judging you because that space is different than mine, or my life is lives different. I'm a different person, and my lifestyle, I was raised, and my upbringing is why I live my house. My house is the way it is. There's a lot of that. It's my upbringing and my individual, and trying to understand that and meet people on the same page with that. And again, it comes to that tolerance, making excuses for people, and being good to your neighbor. Even though the Quran does not specifically talk about roommates, because in the context of that time frame, that wasn't usually a thing. You have people who you traveled with, and maybe that counts as roommates, but still being
Mhm.
respectful to them and trying to not offend and approaching things. And in context of
Yeah.
today's time, roommates are going to happen at one point or
Mhm.
another. Inshallah, that is not difficult for a lot of people or not too long of a term.
Inshallah.
Yeah, it would be ideal to get married and live very peacefully, but that's hard. And a lot of times people who get married very young end up having to live with in-laws because they need that support. Like, don't
Hmm.
expect to just right off the bat, I have money, I'm gonna get all this stuff, I'm gonna get this apartment, I'm gonna buy brand new furniture. It's expensive. Like,
And that's not realistic,
yeah. That's
especially
why I'm like,
today.
yeah. I'm like, I will take my couch that I got for free. I will take it. Absolutely. Depending
Yeah,
on who
that's
it's
a
from.
luxury. Hmm.
Some people I might not take a couch from, but I'll take a lot of things that I'll take. And if I trust them, and you rent a rug doctor that has an upholstery attachment, you could do a lot with it. But accepting things and politely and learning again the boundaries. If I have a roommate and they have stuff, I try my hardest to respect it and respect their space. If they have given me the permission to use their stuff, I'm going to respect that. Just as like you would have a neighbor who loans you something. And I know there's, stories in Hadith about times that the Prophet and his family, peace be upon them, would borrow things. They would take a loan from somebody or borrow something, or they would loan to people. And they would never be without their debts. Like everybody trusted money with the Prophet. And when he did the migration, he made sure that Imam Ali stayed behind to make sure everybody was given back their
Right.
things. And I think that's amazing because in today's time, we forget that. And again, like these experiences I've heard, I'm sure Steph has like 21 roommates. That, mashallah, the patience that she has had to learn. Like,
Patience.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's learn from her experiences and teaching you how to be the good roommate, how to be the better roommate. And a lot of times people are going to have roommates that don't follow the same religion
Hmm.
or that practice it differently. Definitely. Because I know I practice differently. There's maybe certain things that I do or certain customs because because as a Reaver, I don't have certain cultural background stuff.
Hmm.
There's some stuff that you may know because you grew up with it and you're like, oh yeah, that's common knowledge. And to me, I'm like, what? And then like because I'm a Reaver, I might know this random specific detail that I'm like, that's not common knowledge. And you're like, what? I've never, but it's learning from each other. And you're learning and
Exactly.
growing with having roommates,
Hmm.
and some girls, and I'm not saying it's wrong at all to want to move out and have roommates first. Some people are
Yeah.
like, no, it's better not to. That's up to you to decide and discuss and do your own research on the religion and see what is the most appropriate or what's going to work for you. Because
Hmm.
everybody's different. Like, not everybody should go to college right out of high school. I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't
I
because I would have been,
totally agree. Yes.
but
100%.
it's different from person to person. Like my
Hmm.
friends who are in med school right now, perfect. It's a good thing they did. They got through it, and it's because it's
Hmm.
hard work, and they're like on track. Me, I was like,
Hmm.
what am I doing with my life? You know?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Like now, that's actually literally, I say that now to anybody who thinks that they're like behind in life because I feel like that and I felt like that for a long time. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? There's no timeline that you have to follow. There's no age limit to when you can stop getting an education or when
Mhm.
you should start getting an education. And me personally, I was so depressed and just, I hated being in college, but I
Wow.
just did it because that's what you do,
Hmm.
traditionally right out of high school. So I just did it for that reason alone. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I still kind of don't. And I'm like, now, if I was in college at this age, at this point in my life, I would truly enjoy it. Back then, I used to cry every single day.
Wow. I
That's how
loved
much I
university.
hated
I loved university. When I worked retail, I cried every single day. And I had days with roommates that I cried. I cried a
it.
lot. Living with family, sometimes I cried a lot. But alhamdulillah,
Mm,
where those things are no longer challenges to me at that point in life. They were not like, I feel like with my experience, what I know now, having roommates in the future, inshallah, it
mm.
wouldn't be difficult because of the maturity that we've gained in time and
Yeah.
what we've learned from other people and our experiences. And inshallah is
Mhm.
something that other people can learn through as well. And something
Yeah.
to consider because there's so many classes that you can take learning about the religion. And I see it this with my Christian friends as well. There's so much to learn, but being able to apply it to today's time in the context of the world we live in the country we live in. We have so many cultures here. Like I'm Southern. It is so different from like being up there in DC. I was like, I can't relate to the white people up here
Culture
because
shock in your own country.
it's yeah, but then I was like, let me hang out with these people who are immigrants because their cultures are more relatable to my culture.
Yeah, totally.
And they didn't realize that. The immigrants didn't realize that. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
please, dude, all American Midwesterners are different. You know, the West Coast is totally different. It just depends on, and then there's like Florida. Florida's like its own thing. It's not the South. I
Yeah.
have to tell you, it's not the South. My grandparents lived in Florida my whole life, and I was like going down there, it was just so different. Even though all
Mm.
my grandparents are Southern, because they lived down there so long, there was kind of like this adaptation and different,
Mhm.
they have a little more tolerance. I will say that
There's
when
a lot of immigrants there, so that's understandable why
yeah.
it's very
Well, they have a
diverse,
lot
you
of
know.
immigrants from the north. They all retired and came down south.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why some of the Florida statistics are interesting when it comes to health, just because of how many people retired there. But
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
one of the benefits of even though you haven't had roommates at this point, you live in like one of the most diverse parts of the country.
Hmm.
And so you've already had that experience and having neighbors who are from so many different places. You've already had that experience of having to be around different people and tolerate and learning to have to try to respect them because your neighbors, you're stuck with them, as long as both groups live there. And you don't want to be that neighbor that's unfriendly, that doesn't talk to your neighbors. Because I want to be able to go to my neighbor and say, I need a cup of sugar. I
Literally
need,
what I was
please.
gonna say.
I know, which nobody ever thinks about that. I totally would do
Mm,
that. I want
yeah.
my neighbors to feel comfortable doing that. Like, do you
Yeah.
need to run
Yeah.
to the store? You can send the kids to my house. It's
See,
fine.
I
They
think
can,
that's such a Southern mentality.
yeah,
Like,
it
we
is.
do that. You know, like traditionally you just go over, hey, do you have any tea? Oh, like I'm
Yeah.
gonna run to the, grocery store later. If you want anything, let me know. Because it's just like your like morals and ethics that you grow up with.
Yeah.
What we say
You
adab,
need
which
you
is
need people. People were not
Mhm.
made to man was not made to live alone. Like even the
Exactly.
Quran talks about you were created in pairs,
Yeah, and
and
how
you're encouraged
much
to be together, to blend and to
Mhm,
reproduce and
mhm.
not just with spouses and your family, but with your neighbors and with other people.
And your
Like,
neighbors actually hold rights over you. So,
yeah, absolutely.
it's
Like,
unfortunate we grow up next to people and never know their names. For
yeah,
years, you can live next to them.
I
Actually,
love
it's so
knowing my
sad because it's kind
neighbors. I love knowing my neighbors. I miss my old neighbors. They were awesome. Like we could go up. I send them pictures of my cow all the time and they love it.
Mhm,
Like where my parents are, they're not having to do so much of that. Let me borrow a cup of sugar, but it's more like, hey, can you help me mow my lawn? Like one side, the neighbor, her husband, she's a widow and she's older. And so she might be like, can your son please mow my lawn? Because I'm not able to do it. He'll just do it. The
mhm.
other neighbors, my mom, there was a copperhead. Okay. That's a very poisonous snake in the yard. And my mom freaked out. She was screaming. The neighbor on the other side, his son came over with a shotgun and took care of the snake. And my mom forever was like, he is the most amazing. She just like praised him. She's like, he's so amazing. I was like, Mom, I went to high school with him. I have a very different view than you of him. But it's just, but at the same time, like he took care of his neighbor. And I think that's amazing. Even though I didn't agree with so much about his personality,
Mhm.
I still respect that he looked after my mom
Right.
and made sure she felt safe when my dad
Mhm.
wasn't there to take care of the problem. And then of course
Yeah.
everyone's like, ha ha ha, this is great. But in the South, we definitely have to worry about many poisonous things and other things will try to kill you. Alhamdulillah, we don't live in Australia. If you live in Australia and you listen to
Oh
this,
my
I'm sorry.
Yes. Well,
I
thank
hope you are
God.
safe.
Yeah, no. I've literally seen videos of people showing koala bears just show up inside their bedroom and be like, just a normal day in Australia.
My goodness.
What? But how cute would that be?
Yeah, have like little koala bear. Yeah, cute, but they have anxiety issues. Anyway, beside the point. I digress. Sometimes when talking, like we go what seems like it's way off topic. Like we were talking about
Hmm.
roommates. Now we're talking about dangers and where you live, but we are one ummah. And it's not just Muslims, it's the world,
Hmm.
your neighborhood where you live. People,
Yeah.
I feel like people get off topic with that. Your roommates in
Hmm.
college, your next door neighbors in your neighborhood. Do you live in townhouses? Do you live in
Hmm.
apartments? Are you in like one of those giant apartment buildings, the high rises? You know, that
Hmm.
entire building is your ummah. That's your
Hmm.
community. And they do have rights over you. And you have responsibilities to take care of them, look after them. And it's not just religiously, it's just as humans being
Yeah.
good and taking care of each other, despite the differences you have. Because
Hmm.
even within your own religion, even with whatever sect that you follow within your religion or denomination, you're going to find differences with people individually. But at the end of the day, that doesn't
Definitely.
matter. That matters is treating people and being there for them.
Like that quote, I think it's by Imam Ali, where you're either my brother in faith or my brother in humanity. Is that right?
Yeah, I said men are people of two kinds, either your brothers in faith or your brethren in humanity. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, subhanAllah, that's it. That
That's,
literally, that's it. At the end of the day, like we need to put that in our apartment, like just slap it on the wall, you know?
I like it.
Because I will make a painting. I will make a painting for you because
Yes, love it.
we need that reminder all the
Actually,
time.
yeah, that's true. Just actually speaking of like du'as and stuff that you should have in your home, one I was reading that like prevents you, from your house like burning down or anything like that from like a terrible thing is Joshin Kabir. Just like having it in your house will protect your home from like fires and things like that. Which obviously, the Quran itself and everything.
Yeah.
Like naturally we have that, thankfully.
Alhamdulillah.
But that's one of the things. And like I hope we have that. And I hope every household would have that either printed out or within a book.
Yeah. It is good to have a roommates like you know a lot of du'as. You've heard of them or you're
Hmm.
familiar, and I'm not, but it's something we are learning from each other.
Hmm.
And I think with people, when you have roommates, find things that you want to learn and grow from each other and like the positives with it. I think that's absolutely, and again, it's training and preparing you for living with a spouse, living with
Hmm.
in-laws, being able to have that balance because you're stuck with them for better or for worse. And when you've already, again, not every woman is going to or needs to have that experience living outside, without a spouse. But even hearing someone else's experience or, going to a friend's house who has roommates and getting a little bit of experience on your own, but what you can grow and being able to have the tolerance and the patience and making excuses, 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 and forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. I
Hmm.
don't like to think of it as a doormat that people walk over you. I think of it as you are a forgiving person
Hmm.
by nature,
Yeah.
but
If you
you will
change your
def
perspective a little bit.
yeah. And
Hmm.
you will defend those who are oppressed. There's a limit on allowing yourself to be depressed because that's not good. Don't allow yourself to be
Yeah.
oppressed, but having that mentality of forgiveness
Hmm.
to
The
have
70 reasons.
what's going to have peace. And the Bible talks about that.
Mm.
How many times you should forgive them? 7 times, 70 times, 70 times, 7 times is what Jesus had
Mm.
said to his
Okay.
disciples. And it's still like something about the number 70, mashallah, mashallah.
That's similar, right? I think in the
hmm
Quran
Because
also
it's
says.
again teachings of Prophet Jesus and how it
Mhm.
comes to teachings of Prophet Muhammad
Mhm.
and what was passed down.
Yeah.
And we don't forget, alhamdulillah, the Quran is preserved, it's perfect. And it teaches us and it reinforces these things that we have been taught for so long. But again, I'm not sitting here keeping count. If did I forgive them? It's 69 times. You only get one more forgiveness. It's like, but give them one more, but give them one more. And
Mhm.
that was shown repeatedly through the stories and the history about forgiving people. And that's what I like to see, you know.
It's
My
like giving them
doormat,
70 excuses
yeah, my
or
doormat is open for you to
reasons.
walk into the threshold of my house, and what you do,
Hmm.
I'll forgive you. I'm going to set boundaries for respect, obviously. You have to do that. But forgiving people, some people might forget the rules or whatever, and maybe they disrespect. Well, if you were disrespectful after multiple times, I've forgiven, I might just not invite you over very frequently. But I'm not going to cut you off or, ruin everything because I want to give you a chance to learn and to grow just as I
Hmm.
would, because I'm sure there's plenty of people who stopped inviting me over, probably when I did their dishes too much. They were like, "This girl has to stop," because
A little,
it
a
makes
little too
them feel
kind.
uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want you to think that I feel like you're dirty. I just was like, I just want to do this kindness for you, and this is a skill that I have. I'm talented at washing
Depending,
dishes.
okay, depending on which culture they're from or like what their ethnicity is, it's not that you may have offended them in that kind of way that they thought you give them the impression that I'm dirty. I think it may be like, you are our guest. You are meant to sit here and relax. We are supposed to take care of you
Yeah,
because, there's some people for like go over to their place and like, let's say, for example, they're of Arab background. I'm like, can I help you in the kitchen? Can I help your mom? And they're like, no, no. Oh my God, don't even say that. Like, come sit.
yeah,
Do not touch anything. So they're like offended in that way. Like, oh, why would you
yeah.
offer? You do not need to do
It's
anything. You're our
it's
guest.
it's so funny because the Southern culture is that way too, but I still find myself wanting to do stuff because it's that
Hmm.
acts of servitude.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when I've had people at my house, I tried to keep them out. But when they did, I just was like, they want to serve me. They want to give this to me. It's their heart of giving. And so I'm like, okay, I've allowed. I had people, they washed my dishes, but they didn't know where my dish soap was, so they just rinsed my dishes. I was like, it's okay. It's gonna go in the dishwasher anyway. Especially a lot of the immigrants, the Arab immigrants, who they don't use dishwashers. They just wash everything, and I'm like, MashaAllah, MashaAllah, shukran, shukran habibti.
It's
Like
the thought that
they
counts.
wanted to, it's the thought that counts, and I appreciated that, and it's a time for me to like make dua and thank Allah that I have friends that want to take care of me that way,
Hmm.
you know? Because there's a degree depending on how many people I'm hosting or having over, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not expecting them to do that. I would
Hmm.
prefer to do it all myself, but I'm not going to refuse it. I've had to learn that
Hmm.
because of my cultural background, I've had to learn to be like, it is okay to let
Hmm.
people help you because sometimes you need it. You
Yeah,
absolutely
definitely.
need it. It's great if my roommate helps me out, but I'm not going to expect it. But it's a blessing whenever they do.
So this would tie into like having roommates and what to expect of them. Like, since you've had them in the past, have you had experiences? I mean, I'm sure you had where you had dirty dishes from a roommate. I feel like you wouldn't do that just based off of your like family ethics and values. But, like, how would you react or how did you if that
A lot of
scenario came up?
times, what I do most of the time, the dirty dishes is actually a spouse thing, but I just do the dishes. Or I
Mm.
try to be careful and I ask, hey, are you done with this? And they might say yes. I say, I'll clean it. Sometimes they're like, oh, I'm done. Let me clean it. And I'm not trying to tell them, are you done with this? It's your tone of voice and how you say it. Like, hey,
Yeah.
are you done with this plate? And they're like, yeah, yeah, I'm done with it. And I'll clean it. Or they get up and clean it
Mm.
themselves. It's again being gracious and polite and patient with how you approach people. Sometimes there's like nothing on the plate. They're like, oh, I'm not done with it. But maybe they want to reuse that plate. And I'd be like, do you mind if I, move it over here or whatever so that I can access whatever, whatever it is. So it's learning to respect the boundaries and especially because it's a shared space. Absolutely. That's kind of like my approach with it. At least I
Hmm.
try. I'm sure I have days. If I'm having a rough day, I need to just not look at it and go to my space, find my
Hmm.
area, do my tasbih. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I'm doing it. I am absolutely doing it. Alhamdulillah, all the time. I try to, if that's one thing, I don't know the du'as, but tasbih does so
It's
much.
like
It,
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You know that one?
Yeah,
It's like when you're angry and you want to act out and you're like, do you like do it to control yourself?
alhamdulillah. So I guess that kind of probably closing because we're running out of time. My closing on that, and honestly, for anybody who's thinking of roommates or in the middle of a situation with roommates, having that forgiveness, having practicing patience, having
Hmm.
forgiveness, and you can always learn something. You will
Hmm.
learn something about yourself, you will learn something about your religion, and you'll learn something about other people and
Hmm.
how to tolerate people and patience.
Tolerance. Yeah.
Whether that's one of Steph's 21 roommates, whether that's family, whether that's in-laws, whether that's a really good friend, who lives with you. It's the heart of forgiveness,
Hmm.
the patience, and sometimes it takes patience, especially when you're going through personal things. So that would be my main thing that I would say about roommates and dealing with people, regardless of the horror stories, forgiving those people. It makes fun stories, ghost stories. We have a campfire one day. That
Yeah.
one
And
time,
maybe, I mean, you always take it as good lessons anyways when you reflect back on them. They teach you anything. They teach you something in whatever ways you learned it.
Well, thank you for joining my discussion with us. Yeah, I knew you had stuff to say
Of course.
in the input. And
Yeah.
Steph, thank you for joining us and helping us. No, she's not here right now, but
Wrap it
setting. I'm gonna go finish drinking my cold tea now.
Enjoy making an iced tea.
I hope y'all enjoyed this episode and inshallah are not afraid of having roommates in the near future. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum.